She walked onto the plane with quiet confidence. Tailored suit, sleek black heels, calm eyes that had seen boardrooms higher than most people could dream of. But to the flight attendant, she was just another passenger who didn't belong in first class. The whispering started. The stares followed. Then came the shove, and the slap that echoed through the cabin like thunder. Phones came out, laughter, accusations, and through it all she said nothing, just one look. Steady, unbroken, because what no one knew, not the passengers, not the cameras, was that she owned the very plane they were standing in. Maya Henderson wasn't just another traveler. She was a woman who'd built her name from the ground up. Born in Atlanta, raised by a single mother who cleaned offices at night, Maya had grown up watching planes slice across the night sky, promising a world beyond the limits of her neighborhood. 2 decades later, she had become one of the youngest CEOs in American aviation. Her company, Henderson Aerodynamics, quietly partnered with major airlines, manufacturing parts that made modern flight possible. But today, Maya wasn't boarding as an executive. She was traveling alone, dressed modestly, heading to a private meeting in New York. She arrived early, boarding pass in hand, her first-class ticket fully confirmed. The boarding gate agent barely looked at her before scanning the pass, his tone cold, mechanical. But Maya had learned to brush it off. She'd seen that look too many times before. When she entered the aircraft, heads turned. A few passengers in first class frowned as if her presence disrupted their comfort. The flight attendant, a tall woman with a tight smile, watched her like she was trespassing. Maya placed her bag neatly in the overhead bin, took her seat by the window, and pulled out a file. The attendant approached. "Ma'am," she said sharply, "I think you're in the wrong seat." Maya looked up, calm. "No," she replied softly. "This is 1A." But the woman didn't check the list. Didn't ask questions. She just reached forward, yanked the ticket from Maya's hand, and walked away, whispering something to another crew member who laughed under his breath. Maya turned to the window, heart steady but eyes distant. She'd faced prejudice in meetings, on stages, even in boardrooms she owned, but this was about to become something far worse. The plane door closed with a hollow thud. Maya glanced around the cabin, 12 seats all filled. Businessmen adjusting watches, couples sipping champagne, a family taking selfies before takeoff. The atmosphere was calm, until the attendant returned. Her name tag read, Carla. Her voice this time wasn't polite. "Ma'am, I told you this section is reserved. I'll have to ask you to move to economy." Every pair of eyes turned toward Maya. She blinked once, controlled. "My ticket clearly says first class," she said quietly. Carla's smile was sharp. "We both know how people get these tickets sometimes." "Stand up," gasps. A few chuckles from nearby seats. Someone whispered, "Here we go again." Maya didn't move. She had spent her entire life earning the right to sit in that seat. But before she could speak again, Carla snatched the boarding stub from her hand, tore it clean in half, and tossed it onto her lap. The sound of paper ripping sliced through the cabin like a slap. And then came the real one. Carla's hand struck Maya's cheek. Sharp, sudden, cameras clicked. A man across the aisle whispered, "Oh, this is going viral." Another woman muttered, "She should have just moved." Maya sat still, the way her mother had taught her to when the world turned ugly. She didn't fight back, didn't cry, didn't give them the satisfaction. A second attendant rushed over. "Carla, what are you doing?" "She forged this ticket." Carla snapped. "These people scam the system all the time. I'm not losing my job over it." Maya's jaw tightened. The humiliation burned deep, but she kept her tone calm. "Call your captain now." Carla hesitated. The captain, a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair, emerged from the cockpit, confusion in his eyes. "What's going on here?" "She's not supposed to be here, sir," Carla said, pointing. "Fake ticket." "Disruptive passenger." The captain turned to Maya. "Ma'am, if there's been a mistake, we can sort it quietly." Maya's response was measured. "You can sort it by checking your passenger list." He sighed, gesturing to a tablet. Carla handed it over with shaking hands. As he scrolled, his face changed. Confusion first, then disbelief. There it was. Henderson, Maya A. Verified passenger first class seat 1A. A heavy silence filled the cabin. Passengers shifted uncomfortably. Cameras were still rolling. But before anyone could speak, Maya reached slowly into her bag. Phones lifted again. People expecting confrontation, maybe even security to rush in. But what she pulled out wasn't a weapon. It was a slim black leather case. Inside, a corporate ID. Silver letters embossed, Henderson Aerodynamics, CEO. She placed it gently on the tray table. Carla frowned. "And what's that supposed to prove?" Maya looked up and steady, calm, unflinching. That this plane wouldn't be flying without my company's engines. A murmur swept the cabin. Someone gasped. Another whispered, "Wait, is she serious?" The captain froze, color draining from his face. He knew the name. Everyone in aviation did. But before he could respond, Maya leaned back in her seat and said quietly, "Please fasten your seatbelt. I wouldn't want turbulence to make this situation worse." The humiliation now belonged to someone else, but the real storm was still coming. The captain's hands trembled slightly as he handed back the tablet. The silence inside first class felt electric, like everyone was holding their breath. Carla's face was pale now, her arrogance dissolving into panic. Ma'am, she stammered, but Maya raised a hand. Calm, commanding. "No," Maya said quietly. "You've said enough." Every phone was recording now. The live streams had begun. The world was about to watch something it had never seen before. The captain cleared his throat. "Ms. Henderson, are you saying—" Maya turned her gaze toward him, her voice steady but sharp enough to cut through the air. "I'm saying this aircraft is powered by Henderson engines. I'm saying your airline leases 300 planes from my company. And I'm saying I own the majority shares of this airline." Gasps erupted. Someone dropped their drink. The man across the aisle muttered, "No way." Carla took a step back, eyes wide. I didn't know," she whispered. "That's the problem," Maya replied. "You never asked. You never even looked." The captain tried to compose himself, but his voice trembled. "Ms. Henderson, please let me personally apologize on behalf of the airline." Maya stood up slowly, every eye on her. The cabin lights caught the faint mark still visible on her cheek. She picked up her torn ticket and held it between her fingers. "This isn't about an apology," she said. "It's about the system you've built. One that assumes who belongs where before even checking a name." Her voice didn't rise, but every word struck with the force of thunder. Carla stood frozen, her uniform suddenly feeling heavier than ever. Maya reached for her bag, retrieved her phone, and typed a single message. Within seconds, the captain's earpiece buzzed. His face turned white. Headquarters was already watching the live footage. The co-pilot stepped out, whispering something in his ear. Then, over the intercom, came the announcement no one expected. "Ladies and gentlemen, due to an internal matter, we will be returning to the gate. We apologize for the inconvenience." Maya turned toward the window, watching the terminal lights draw closer. Carla was quietly escorted out, head down, her hands trembling. The same passengers who had laughed minutes ago now avoided her gaze. As the plane came to a stop, Maya stood again, calm, unshaken, untouchable. The cameras followed her as she walked toward the exit. One reporter's voice echoed through the noise. "Ms. Henderson, what will happen now?" She paused at the doorway. "Maybe now," she said softly. "People will finally learn who's really flying the plane." By the time the plane reached the gate, the story had already taken flight across the internet. The video, "Flight attendant slaps black woman in first class in Bayan," was trending worldwide. Millions watched in disbelief as the clip showed the slap, and then the reveal. At the airport terminal, airline officials, PR managers, and security officers waited nervously. When Maya stepped off the plane, cameras flashed like lightning. She didn't flinch. She walked straight ahead, tall, poised, every step echoing power. A reporter shouted, "Ms. Henderson, will the attendant be fired?" Maya turned, her eyes steady but filled with a quiet sadness. "I don't believe in firing people," she said softly. "I believe in teaching them." Carla was brought forward by security, shaking. Her eyes were red from crying. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know who you were." Maya looked at her for a long moment, then replied, "You didn't need to know who I was. You just needed to treat me like a person." The crowd fell silent. Even the reporters lowered their mics. Then Maya did something no one expected. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small white card. "This is a scholarship program I started," she said. "It's for aviation employees who want to grow, who want to understand what leadership really means. If you're serious about changing, you'll show up on Monday. Carla took the card with trembling hands. I will, she whispered. Maya nodded once and walked toward the exit, her assistant opening the black car door waiting outside. As the car drove away, the camera caught the reflection of the airplane behind her company's logo gleaming under the sun. On social media, hashtags exploded. Maya Henderson, she owned the plane, the respect in the sky within hours. Airlines across the country announced new diversity and empathy training programs for their staff. Maya didn't ask for credit. She simply returned to her office overlooking the runway, watching another of her planes take off. Her assistant entered quietly. Ma'am, your next board meeting's in 10 minutes. Maya smiled faintly. Tell them I'll be there. I've already handled turbulence today. The camera faded out on her face, calm, composed, radiant, as the music swelled softly in the background. Sometimes power isn't about titles or ownership. It's about grace. And sometimes the people you underestimate are the ones who built the sky you're flying through.